There's a new name at Ibrox, and it's one that's already sending shockwaves through the Rangers fan base. Danny Rowe has officially taken charge as the club's new head coach, and his first words were anything but generic. The German arrives with a reputation for tactical sharpness and clear leadership, and he made it clear from the start that he understands exactly what he's stepping into. No sugarcoating, no vague promises. Rowe knows Rangers is not a place for slow transitions or excuses. It's a place of immediate expectations, and he's embraced that from day one. In his first address to the supporters, Danny Rowe spoke with purpose. He didn't hide behind the usual lines or corporate polish. He acknowledged the tough start to the season and made it crystal clear there's no time to waste. The job starts now. That mentality already gives him a different feel from recent appointments. The club hasn't just hired a tactician. They've brought in a personality who appears to fully grasp the emotional weight of managing a club like Rangers. From the traditions, to the fans, to the pressure that hangs over every result, Rowe seems ready to carry it all on his shoulders. This isn't a rebuilding project quietly happening in the background. This is a club that expects trophies, expects dominance on the pitch, and expects a manager who doesn't just understand that, but thrives under it. And judging by his words, that's exactly the kind of environment Danny Rowe is after. He talked about restoring pride, building unity, and representing the identity of Rangers, not just in style of play, but in attitude, in commitment, in the way his team will behave from the first minute to the last. Now, make no mistake, this appointment comes after a turbulent period behind the scenes. The hunt for a successor to Russell Martin dragged on, with names like Steven Gerrard and Kevin Muscat heavily linked before backing away from the role. At one point, Rowe himself had reportedly stepped back from the process. But as the days passed and the criticism grew louder, especially after that disappointing draw against Dundee United, Rangers found themselves returning to the German, determined to get the deal over the line. And they did, sealing a 2.5-year contract to bring Rowe to Glasgow. This wasn't just about filling a vacancy. This was about repairing a fractured relationship between the board and the fans. Just days ago, banners were flying in the stands, calling for board members to pack their bags and leave. The draw at home felt like a tipping point, with the Union Bears making it very clear they were done with excuses. One banner read, "No more buses to hide on, no more managers to hide behind. Face your failures like men." It was a powerful statement, and one that echoed throughout Ibrox. So, into that storm steps Danny Rowe. And rather than flinch, he's embraced it. He said it plainly, the expectations are massive, and he welcomes the challenge. He sets high standards for himself, and he demands the same from his players. Rowe promised a team that would reflect the core values of Rangers: hard work, unity, and success. Not buzzwords, but lived values that supporters can actually see in the way the squad carries itself on the pitch. That's the identity he wants to rebuild. That's the culture he's trying to instill. The new manager's first test will come fast, with a Europa League clash against SK Brann already on the horizon. There's no grace period, no preseason, no time to adapt. It's straight into the fire. And if Danny Rowe's words are anything to go by, that's exactly how he wants it. He knows trust has to be earned, not asked for. He's not here to win people over with charm. He wants the football to speak for itself. Behind the scenes, both Andrew Kavanagh and Vice Chairman John Bennett played key roles in finalizing the appointment. After the failed moves for Gerrard and Muscat, they knew they had to get this one right. Kavanagh openly admitted the season's start has been rocky, but expressed confidence that Rowe is the right man to steer things forward. He highlighted Rowe's elite experience and praised his ability to operate under pressure, calling him a strong fit for the demands that come with being at the helm of Rangers. And make no mistake, this was not a rushed hire. It was a process that dragged longer than most supporters would have liked, but it was thorough. The club knew this decision would shape not just the current campaign, but the tone for seasons to come. Rowe stood out because of his clarity, his energy, and his understanding of what it truly means to lead Rangers, beyond tactics, beyond lineups. He impressed the board with his vision and his character, two elements that had been lacking during the previous regime. And that brings us to the shadows cast by the previous head coach. Russell Martin's time at the club ended in disappointment, and for many, the warning signs were there from the beginning. While Martin came with fresh ideas and a possession-based style, it never quite clicked with the squad. The football was slow, predictable, and often disjointed. Results suffered. The players looked uncomfortable. And soon enough, the dressing room's confidence began to fade. Even former players have started to speak out. One of them, Jeff Day, didn't mince his words when reflecting on Martin's tenure. The Brazilian fullback, who had a brief and underwhelming spell at Ibrox before returning to South America, admitted he was not surprised at all to see Martin let go. Day was polite in his remarks, respectful of Martin as a person, but made it clear the manager's tactics never suited the squad's DNA. For him, it was obvious from the start that it wouldn't work. And that's a key point here. It wasn't just the losses that doomed Martin, it was the identity crisis. Rangers under Martin often felt like a team trying to be something they weren't. Possession without penetration, structure without urgency, plans that didn't reflect the tools at his disposal. Day even recalled how he was sidelined after Martin opted to use Max Aarons, a right back, on the left side, effectively pushing Day out of the team. There was no fallout, no drama, but the writing was on the wall. The style didn't match the squad, and the results spoke for themselves. Now, contrast that with Danny Rowe's approach. He's not walking in with a rigid idea and forcing it onto the squad. From what we've heard so far, he's focused on adapting to the group, instilling values first, then building the system around what works. He's already emphasized the need to represent the fans and the badge with pride, not just play well, but play with purpose. He doesn't just want a team that can win matches. He wants one that fans can believe in again. And belief is exactly what's been missing. The disconnect between the pitch and the stands has grown too wide in recent months. Now, with Rowe in charge, the challenge is not only to close that gap, but to light a fire under a season that still holds plenty of potential. Rangers are still fighting on multiple fronts. Europe is still in play. The league is far from over. But for any of that to matter, the mentality has to change, and change fast. While Danny Rowe prepares for his first match in charge, there's no denying that the atmosphere around Ibrox remains tense. The wounds from Russell Martin's short and underwhelming stint are still fresh, and it'll take more than words to rebuild the faith. But Rowe's arrival has already introduced something that had been missing for too long: clarity. His vision may still be in its early stages, but it feels grounded. There's no fluff, no vague philosophies. It's all about hard work, structure, and bringing back the edge Rangers were once feared for. One man who felt that disconnect firsthand was Jeff Day, a player who arrived in Glasgow with promise, but found himself quickly out of favor. The Brazilian fullback was part of the squad under Martin and didn't hesitate to share his honest take on what went wrong. According to Day, Martin's approach, while well-intentioned, never aligned with the core strengths of the team. His style, focused heavily on possession and patient build-up, clashed with a squad that had been built for intensity, aggression, and direct play. From the outside, the football looked uncomfortable. Inside the dressing room, it felt unnatural. Day explained that despite giving his all in training, he could tell early on that he didn't fit the system. The moment that solidified that for him was when Max Aarons, a natural right back, was moved across to the left side, effectively shutting Day out. It wasn't about talent. It wasn't personal. It was simply a tactical mismatch, one that left players confused and fans frustrated. And when a manager's ideas don't suit the group, the belief drains fast. Day said it plainly. He respected Martin as a person, but he could see from the beginning that it wasn't going to work. For supporters, hearing that kind of frankness from a former player only reinforces what they've been feeling for months. It wasn't just about poor results. It was about the lack of identity, the absence of a clear structure, and players who looked like they were being asked to do things they weren't comfortable with. Possession without purpose, tactics without bite. It was a style that might have worked elsewhere, but not at Rangers, not in this league, and not with this squad. That's why Danny Rowe's appointment feels different. He's already acknowledged the size of the task ahead. He knows the pressure. But more importantly, he's not trying to reinvent the wheel. He's focused on rebuilding trust, not just between players and fans, but within the squad itself. He wants a group that believes in the plan, that buys into the identity, and that's willing to fight for every ball, every minute, every match. The era of comfort is over. Rowe is here to demand more. And while some may question whether a young manager like Rowe, only 36 years old, can handle the heat of Ibrox, it's worth noting that age doesn't define leadership. What does his presence, conviction, and results? Rowe has operated in high-pressure environments before. He understands what it means to be judged by the scoreboard, not the speech. That's why his early message wasn't filled with promises of beautiful football or long-term projects. It was about standards, about intensity, about doing justice to the badge. This is something fans have been crying out for. During the worst spells of last season, the biggest criticism wasn't just about losing. It was about how the team lost. Passivity, lack of urgency, no visible fire. Rowe has already made it clear that won't be tolerated under his watch. He doesn't want a squad that hides behind excuses or past achievements. He wants players who own their performances and treat every match like it's a final. That's the mentality Rangers need to reclaim if they're going to compete across 4 competitions. And let's not forget what's still at stake. Despite the rocky start, this season is far from over. Europe is still alive. The domestic cups are still up for grabs. The league? Still within reach if the right momentum is built now. Rowe hasn't arrived to finish out a season. He's here to transform it. And the players now have no choice but to respond. There's no more confusion about tactics. No more hiding behind systems that don't suit them. It's a clean slate, but one that comes with massive responsibility. Jeff Day, now back in Brazil, seems to have found his rhythm again. His move to Palmeiras, one of the biggest clubs in South America, came quickly, but he insists it was the right step for his career. He didn't leave Ibrox bitter. In fact, he spoke with gratitude about the opportunity, saying his time in Scotland helped him mature, both as a player and a professional. But even with that respect, he made it clear, when a squad isn't playing to its strengths, failure is inevitable. And under Martin, that's exactly what happened. His comments also highlight something deeper, the importance of alignment between a manager's vision and the DNA of a club. At Rangers, it's not enough to have tactical ideas. Those ideas need to reflect what the fans expect, what the club stands for, and what the players are built to deliver. Danny Rose seems to understand that in a way Martin never quite did, and that understanding could make all the difference. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. In what could be the most jaw-dropping twist in Scottish football in decades, whispers around Glasgow suggest that Kieran Tierney, the pride of Celtic Park, is set to make the unthinkable move to Rangers. Sources close to the player hint that negotiations have reached an advanced stage, sending shockwaves through both fan bases and leaving pundits scrambling for explanations. Tierney, a product of Celtic's famed youth academy and a talisman for the Hoops for several seasons, has long been idolized for his fearless runs down the left flank and his unwavering commitment to the green and white. Yet, rumors insist that a combination of lucrative terms, the promise of first-team regularity, and a desire for a new challenge may have persuaded him to consider crossing one of the most bitter divides in world football. Inside whispers from Ibrox claim that the Rangers board has been in contact for months, plotting what would be a seismic signing in the annals of Scottish football. It's not every day that a player of Tierney's caliber even entertains the notion of joining the opposition, one anonymous insider reportedly said. If it happens, it will rewrite the history books in Glasgow. Fans on social media are in uproar, with Celtic supporters expressing disbelief and anger, while Rangers fans are torn between excitement and nervous anticipation at the potential arrival of a former nemesis. The move, if confirmed, would mark one of the most controversial transfers in Scottish football history, a tale of loyalty, ambition, and money colliding on the city's divided streets. Meanwhile, football analysts speculate on the tactical implications. Rangers could significantly bolster their defensive options, while Tierney's attacking prowess down the left could offer a new dimension to their game. Yet, the emotional fallout may overshadow the footballing logic, with Celtic fans reportedly planning symbolic protests and tributes to their departing hero. As the city of Glasgow braces itself, the rumor mills show no signs of slowing. Kieran Tierney to Rangers might still be a whisper today, but in a matter of days, it could become the roar that shakes Scottish football to its very core. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.